and those municipal assemblies where the Kanjos used to sit, they automatically transitioned to the county assemblies.
Chair, I also believe so. And I'm imagining minutes cannot be legal documents. There shouldn't have been a document like a title that was there, that was handed over either to those who are working on the changeover of those documents. I'm not sure, but I can ask and come back to the committee to ask how those documents were handed over.
Who's the successor to TIE? Is it IGRTC? Because when we killed TIE, that function went to the Intergovernmental Relations Technical Committee.
Yes.
Are they useful to you? Because I think that would be an agency that you need to involve in this conversation.
I think that's good advice, and we can follow up with them.
Yeah, because it just sounds like unnecessary bureaucracy. I mean, this is not your typical succession where you have to go and dig up documents here and there. This is such a clear matter that this was the assembly of the defunct municipality. This is the assembly of a devolved government, and really that transition should be much more seamless than what you're describing. Senator Gatai.
One would be even interested to know whether, was it land titled in the first place? Was it titled? Does it have a title from the de facto local authorities?
Unfortunately, we do not have the information because, like we have said, we do not have any transfer documents that on transition now from the municipality to the assembly. We do not have any documentation. But we believe that there must have been allocation, probably allotment certificate or something for the municipality.
Muranga of other places, we don't expect to have those kind of unclear circumstances, especially on land issues.
We don't have.
So in whose balance sheet does that land and facility sit? The accountants. In whose balance sheet is it?
Yeah. We never used to have those fixed non-movable assets in this balance sheet. So currently, I think Treasury is doing the takeover and checking who owns the lands in those places. But I tend to think even the county itself is supposed to do the checkup and see who is supposed to own that. But they never used to be the statement before. We are starting with this financial year.
Okay, so in whose assets register is it?
The land and the building, they are in our assets register.
And yet you don't have ownership?
So we don't have ownership. So we are working because, as Treasury has explained, because of matters like depreciation of assets and everything, we have to get all the assets that we own, we have to have the proper ownership of the same.
You see, tomorrow you'll be told to give part of the land for affordable housing, or for a stadium, or a market for that purpose. That's why ownership is important. So it's not an idle concern. I think, Auditor General, you need this for all the county assemblies that have not been able to formalize their instruments of ownership.
Thank you. We'll do that, Chair.
Chair, what was the role of the Transition Authority? I thought that's what it was meant to do, to come up with list of assets and then the list over to county governments. What happened?
It's actually a point that we have, a question we have asked. And remember, the functions of TIA were taken over by IGRTC. So we have advised the Assembly to do a note to IGRTC, because that was the purpose why TA was established, for a seamless transition from the defunct to the current evolved structures. So, honourable members, we can keep this in view. The other query where there are numbers involved, because there are a few that are of a policy nature that we can take the written responses, was a matter of management of travel expenses.
Yes,
Auditor General, maybe quickly go through your finding.
Thank you, Chair. Under the report on lawfulness and effectiveness in the use of public resources, paragraph number 1, we have improper management of travel and expenses. review of records and documents relating to domestic travel and subsistence allowances revealed imprest issued to various officers to perform official duties. However, the following weaknesses were noted in the management of travel expenses. 1. Officers were paid per diems and travel allowances directly to their banks without the use of imprest warrants, which contradicts Regulation 93, subsection 1 of the Public Finance Management County Governments Regulations 2015, which provides that an imprest shall be issued for a specific purpose and any payments made from it shall be only for the purpose specified in the imprest warrant. 2. Section 6.5.2 of the National Treasury Accounting and Financial Reporting Manual for county governments requires that staff to use an imprest surrender form from FO22 for travel and accommodation, which shall form the basis of posting the specific expenditure category to the general ledger. However, payment voucher documents provided for audit were not supported by way of financial order form 22. 3. The management did not maintain individual imprest ledgers, imprest register, and memorandum cash books. In the circumstances, management was in breach of the law. Thank you, Chair.
What was your response, Assembly?
Thank you, Chair. We note that the following corrective actions have been undertaken and further measures will be implemented to strengthen compliance going forward. The first one is use of imprest warrants. Per diems and travel allowances were paid directly to officers' bank accounts as travel reimbursements after travel due to lack of funds at the time of authorization and travel. Measures have been put in place in line with Regulation 93(1) of the Public Finance Management County Governments Regulation of 2015. All payments for official travel are currently supported by duly authorized imprest warrants. The second one is use of imprest surrender forms, that is Form FO22. Most imprests were not approved in advance due to cash flow constraints, and as a result, travel-related claims were processed on reimbursement basis. Timely release of exchequer funds will facilitate prompt imprest issuance and reduce reliance on reimbursement arrangements. The management will continuously enforce strict adherence to Section 652 of the National Treasury Accounting and Financial Reporting Manual by ensuring that all staff use Form FO22 for surrendering travel and accommodation and imprest. This measure will improve consistency in documentation and ensure proper classification of expenditure in the general ledger in accordance with the public sector financial management standards. The third one is maintenance of imprest records. Individual imprest ledgers, registers, and memorandum cash books have now been put in place, and designated officers have been assigned responsibility for maintaining them. Thank you, Chair.
Auditor General, have you reviewed those controls? Are they in place? Are they effective?
Thank you, Chair. We'll be able to review the measures in the audit of 25-26.
The weak controls, did they result in any loss of funds?
What we looked at is the ability, maybe the risk of misuse of the resources that have been given, accountability of the resources that have been given, and misuse. Maybe the funds may have been used for purposes for which...
But there was no demonstrable loss of funds
as
a result of the weaknesses?
There wasn't, Chair.
Okay. Patrick?
Chairman, I think we have had a discussion in this committee in the past where an entity was claiming money from former employees, and those employees were saying, can you show us documents where we had signed? So this is a very key issue because...
yeah, that was Transoia.
Transoia.
Yeah.
If an officer has not signed an impress warrant, and if something happens, there is no you can claim that money from them. So it's a very important safeguard for the entity to put those controls in place.
Okay.
Sorry, I mean, Patrick, Clark, how were these impress surrendered now that there were no impress warrants?
Thank you, Chair. Like we have
Because
stated.
I think the procedure, you are supposed to attach those interest, impress warrants in your vouchers and so forth.
Yes, thank you, Chair.
So how are they surrendered in the first place?
Like we have stated, we did not issue imprest prior to the travel. We reimburse imprest after they have traveled because of financial constraints.
But even if you reimbursed, that's almost after the fact. There should have been an initiation.
Yeah, that's initiation. Yes, Chairman, and what we are saying is that the impress warrant is the approving document. You may have the letter authorizing you to travel, but the impress warrant is the one that now commits you that you have taken money from the entity. Even if you have not taken, is a document that commits that even when you came back, you'll be able to surrender that money.
Because for you to surrender, there must have been a warrant.
You must have a warrant.
Yeah?
Yes.
But I can see that in terms of their response, they are saying that they are now going to do A, B, C, D. And that's something that can be tested going forward. Now, this is a very, very important point in terms of the conversation that we have been having informally, where governors do not want to come before this committee. And we have taken the position that you cannot be allowed to draw more funds if you have not accounted for what had been allocated to you. And that's a basic principle even here in imprest management, that if you are given a warrant and you are yet to surrender, you should never get another imprest. Here in Parliament, it is strictly enforced. In fact, in Parliament, if you travel and you have not submitted your travel documents, your boarding pass and all that, you will never get an additional disbursement. It does not matter who you are, whether you are the commissioner, whether you are the speaker, and after 7 days, interest starts running. And then the deduction is done automatically. And so the message that we are passing to the governors is there is no malice here. What we are doing is a constitutional and a statutory duty. For them to appear here is not a favor to anybody. It is not a favor to the institution. It's not even a favor to the people they lead. It is a responsibility that comes from the oath that they took. And Speaker, in as much as I said earlier that you have not done us any favor by coming here because it is your duty, but I take note, having spoken to a few members of the County Assemblies Forum and a few speakers and clerks, that the COG has attempted to recruit the County Assemblies Forum in their illegal protestations. And I want to tell the County Assemblies Forum, the speakers, the clerks, that you have done the right thing. Do not get into a bandwagon which will lead you to ruin. Continue doing what you're doing. When you appear before the Senate, we will handle you fairly. You will benefit from our collective experience. And I think you will be wealthier in a way when you interact with the Senate. So this principle of imprest management is a principle upon which we shall be moving a motion later today or next week in the Senate, that if a governor chooses to go and linda ground, linda wananchi, or linda whatever they are lindering, let them also take time to come and linda their accounts. Yeah?
Chair, point of order.
The chair cannot be out of order.
Just 1 minute, Chair.
Senator,
I can confirm.
Senator Sifuna.
I can confirm that all Linda Mwananchi governors are attending. In fact, as we speak today, now, Governor Orengo is before the Senate Public Investments Committee. The bad manners are those Linda ground governors. Those ones you don't mix us up, Chair. Because on our part,
you're now getting out of order.
He is actually here, the governor of Siaya.
Yeah, we hope that we will come before this committee.
Do we have those entities in law? The Linda Ground, the Linda Mwananchi, are they?
We take judicial notice that they do exist. Yeah, but I think whatever they are lindering shall not insulate them from scrutiny, shall not insulate them from accountability. And on this, we have the goodwill of the people the Senate is united and firmly seized, and we shall be presenting that motion. And the control of budget, who has been called a lot of bad names by the governors. When she stopped the issuance of bursaries, they launched attacks on the control of budget across the 47 counties. In fact, it was a very, very vicious attack. And the control of budget, we must say to her that she's one of those few remaining guardians and few remaining people who stand for the good of the public. And we'll be keen to work with the control of budget to ensure that the governors who choose political theatric over the real work, that they are not allowed to continue accessing funds if they've not accounted for what has been given to them previously. Senator Sifuna.
Chair, as you launch Linda COB, I also want you to add the OAG in that mix, because on Tuesday again, they were the subject of attacks from the Office of the Head of State for just doing their jobs, because there was a term that was used when the Auditor General's report was calling out matters around the Social Health Authority. The Head of State said there are mad people in this country because the OAG has pointed out some of these issues. So, ukilinda Nyakango, pia unalinda Nancy Githungu.
Yeah, no, I think as a matter of fact, the OAG has done a stellar job in standing up for the truth, not using politics as a lens for making decisions, but using the standards, the public sector accounting standards. And honorable members, one of the things we can do to Linda OAG, the Public Audit Amendment Act is before the Senate. The debate started the day before yesterday. Perhaps debate will continue today. I want to urge us to look at those provisions very carefully. I think there are some interesting proposals there. You've got an audit advisory board, which sounds like something that has been brought in to dilute the powers of the Auditor General. You've got creation of certain other positions like Senior Deputy Auditor General, who becomes the secretary to the advisory board. It sounds like created to checkmate the Auditor General. And there are several other provisions. What I want to request our legal and research team, Malcolm, I propose to make amendments to that bill at the relevant stage. Could we look at because there are some things that were added at the National Assembly, and now that it is before us, it is our duty to sanitize it. Yeah, it came from the National Assembly. They added a few things that were not in the original draft. Could you very, very quickly have a look at it, compare with the submission of the Auditor General, and let's look at that amendment, and let's point out the mischief in it, because there seems to be some mischief. I think the executive feels like the Auditor General is having too much power. There is some mischief, and it is our responsibility as the committee that deals with the Public Audit Act on a day-to-day basis to fish out that mischief.
Chair, for me, once you have identified that it is a mischievous attempt at curtailing or clipping the wings of the OAG, those of us who have sworn to defend the Constitution have to reject the thing in total. I mean, how do you get into amendments of something who you know for a fact has been brought to undermine a constitutional office? So my position as Sifuna is that I will reject any attempts to dilute or to clip any of the powers of any constitutional office, because that is the oath that I took when I was elected as Senator of Nairobi.
Yeah, they've sneaked in some fairly interesting proposals, like I think Public Audit Fund. Is it called Public Audit Fund?
Yes, Chairman.
Yeah, so they put in a sweetener on one end and put in some poison on the other end. So Senior Counsel will be trusting your...
Me, I'm on record. I made my submissions yesterday on the floor, and I urged, senators who are progressive to reject that bill. I mean, if the Constitution intended the Auditor General to have an advisory board, they would have created commissioners, not an advisory board where you bring in people who are tied with the executive. Like, why should the Attorney General sit in an advisory board for audit? Our office is, our office is subject to audit. So I think, Chair, what we need to do is to reject that amendment. How do you create an advisory board to take over human resource from the Auditor General's office? That bill is unconstitutional, Chair.
So tutalinda control of budget, tutalinda the Auditor General, na tutalinda county assemblies, na tutalinda nini tena? Tutalinda wananchi, na tutalinda ground pia.
Chair has confirmed it belongs to Linda Mwananchi.
That tunalinda ground pia. Now, honorable members, it was our desire to be done with this meeting by 12. I see the other issues that are in that report as